Here's a topic I bet you've never heard of. It's called money traumas. And if you're interested in improving your relationship with money, increasing your wealth, and wondering why there's always so much month left over at the end of the money, this video was designed for you. My name is Solay Rad. I'm a 15-year financial advisor. I coach men on how to find their purpose and how to be profitable in all parts of their lives. And my focus today is to empower you and educate you on how to identify the traumas that we all carry around money and how to go about detecting and healing them so that they never get in your way again. You see, so many of us have been raised to think that if we have our money mindset and if we understand how to balance a checkbook, that we're gonna eventually become successful. Yet, if your emotions are left unchecked, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how much desire you have, your emotions are gonna constantly block you and prevent you from having a really easy, deep, and fulfilling relationship with money. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how your parents handle money? Have you noticed the type of conversation your mother or your father have around money and finances? You see, the secret is that most of us have been receiving codes, inheritances, and mental programming around how our relationship with money should look. And in fact, each of our parents have their own private relationship with money. And if we start looking at it from a perspective of emotions rather than mindset, there's a lot of understanding and information that we can gain to use in order to deepen our relationship with money and thereby having an easier time increasing our wealth. You see, most people avoid the emotions that they have around money, and they focus so much around working hard, which I call labor, and training their mind, which is really education. But think about it. Haven't you had experiences in your past that have left you to resent money? Have you ever experienced something which has made you feel sad and frustrated towards the energy of money? You see, all of us have. And when we start to identify the emotions that we've been harboring and carrying for many years around this thing called money, we can then start to heal and start to have a deeper, more easy, more playful relationship with wealth. I'll share with you a personal story. I'm an immigrant. I was raised in a war and immigrated to America at the age of 8. My parents, who had a lot of money when we left our country of Iran, came to America pretty much close to broke. And so at the time I was being raised, my parents were constantly complaining about money. They were constantly talking about how it's hard to make it, how it's constantly a drag and a level of obligation that they were uncomfortable with. And when it came to friends and people we met, my parents were constantly talking about who's got more of it, who's got less of it, and thereby judging the value of the people that they met based on how much money they had. I ask you the same question. The parents that you were raised with, what were their conversations around wealth and money? What was the way that your father referred to finances? Was he coming from a place of happiness, gratitude, and excitement when he discussed money and money issues? Or was your father somebody who was grouchy, grumpy, secretive, resentful when it came to money? I want you to also think about your mother. What was her emotional relationship towards wealth? Was it one of gratitude and love and appreciation? Or was your mother's relationship around money based on frustration, fear, anger, scared, or even jealousy? You see, the emotional relationship that our parents have is the first thing that we inherit from them when it comes to money. Most of us think that our inheritance comes from our parents when they pass away and they leave us their big real estate property or their bank accounts, while in fact, the first type of inheritance that you receive about money is from your parents. And if it's left unchecked, it will completely ruin your finances and it will constantly get in the way of you being financially secure and fulfilled. So my intention is to share with you how to identify these money traumas and therefore how to go about healing them so that they no longer get in your way. When I was growing up, there was so many times where money was a point of contention, trauma, and despair for me, for my family, and for my friends. So many times when it came to money, I did not have the education and the understanding to handle it correctly, and it left me resenting and regretting many of my friendships. How about you? Have you had situations in the past when you were growing up, and because of your lack of understanding of how to deal with money, you destroyed relationships? It's pretty common. And circumstances like this leave many of us to have resentment towards money. And here's the question I ask you. If you have resentment towards something, anything, whether it's a person, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, what are the chances that you will build closeness and connection and intimacy with it if you're constantly secretly resenting it? You see, just like any relationship, a relationship with money is based on certain dynamics. And most of us have never been taught how to master the emotional dynamic with this thing called money. Most people I know are slaves to money. They're constantly working hard to achieve wealth, and they're constantly disappointed at their own performance and thereby angry and upset and holding resentment towards the very thing that they are chasing. Think about this example. If you had a relationship with a man or a woman and you didn't know how to handle the dynamics of the relationship, but you still wanted to have a relationship, what are the odds that the relationship would turn into a frustrating one? What are the odds that the relationship would have plenty of resentment embedded inside of it? Pretty common, right? And what I ask you is, if you have had a relationship with someone who you loved or liked, and you felt a secret sense of anger, sadness, scared, or resentment towards them, what are the odds of you being intimate with them and creating something really meaningful? You see, most of us human beings have a similar relationship with money. We secretly have anger, sadness, resentment, jealousy, and shame around money and finances, yet we're constantly begging and chasing and working hard to become close to the thing that we actually have anger towards. So in this video, I want to educate you first by teaching you about emotions, because once you understand the emotions and you have emotional acuity or emotional literacy, then you can start to identify what emotions do you associate with money and wealth. So if you have a pen and paper, I would ask that you write this down. This thing will help you forever. So there are 11 primary emotions that we work with, and I'm going to list them for you in no particular order. And as you learn how to identify these emotions, you can find out what emotions come up for you every second of the day, and you can also understand what emotions are relevant for you when it comes to this thing called money. And once you understand what the emotions are, you can actually get started on your healing journey so that you can have a way deeper, more intimate, harmonious relationship with wealth. So here are the 11 emotions in no particular order. The first one is gratitude. Second one is love. Third one is happiness. Fourth one is joy. Fifth one is excitement. There's 5, okay? We have 6 more. Then we have scared, sad, shy, shame, angry, and the last one is jealous. So out of these 11 emotions, which I hope you wrote down, I'd love to ask you to take a pause, close your eyes, and place your hand on your chest and take a deep breath. Really, take a real deep breath. You deserve it. And as you breathe, I'd like you to now refer to these 11 emotions that you just wrote down and ask yourself which of these are present for you in your body in this very moment. And as you start to take inventory of which of these 11 emotions are available to you right now, you might notice that one of them or 2 of them are happening not at extreme levels, but maybe at minimum levels. And maybe another one is happening at a higher level. Essentially, you can be feeling more than one emotion at any given point. And each emotion that you feel can have a variation. In other words, if you're feeling sad, you can be feeling a little bit of sadness or a lot of sadness. Not all sadness is at the same intensity. Just like musical notes, Every musical note has a different variation that you can have on it. So when it comes to your emotion, what is the intensity of each of the emotions that you're currently feeling? I want you to circle those on the piece of paper that you just wrote. Those are the emotions that you're carrying in this moment. And every moment has the different emotions associated with it. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath, and we're now talking about money and wealth and financial success. And what I want you to do is I want you to consider what emotions are present for you when you think about your current financial situation. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to take a few deep breaths and ask yourself, when I think about my current finances, what emotions are present for me? Might be one emotion, might be two, or even three. And these emotions could be more or less. Circle them on the paper. Actually, draw a square around them. So now we have an understanding. We're taking inventory of the underlying emotions that are relevant for you when it comes to money. Now, here's what I'm going to share with you. And this is really important. So I hope you're really paying attention. This has taken me many years to develop, and no one else in the world is talking about it. This is called money traumas. And so what we're doing is we're now identifying what emotions are we harboring when it comes to the very thing we want. You see, so many of us want to be successful, wealthy, financially independent, and financially secure, and yet so many people struggle. They can't make it happen. No matter how hard they work, it just seems like it's just not possible. And others make a lot of money and they're constantly broke because they do not know how to connect and relate to the energy of money and wealth. And so here what we're realizing is that you, as the viewer of this video, have certain emotions that are coming up for you when it comes to your relationship with money. Now, the top 5 emotions that I described, we like to categorize them as appreciation or appreciative emotions. The lower 6 emotions that we discussed are categorized as resentments. So what I will ask you is, are most of the emotions that you have around your finances associated with appreciative emotions like happy, grateful, excited, joy, love? Or are most of the emotions that you feel around money associated with resentments? Now, before you go judging yourself and shaming yourself or feeling bad about it, stay with me here. Let's be objective because we're going through a healing process around money. I want you to think back about the way you were raised. And most of the emotions that you have associated with money are not even your fault. Most of it has come from programming and information that you've received, likely from your parents. So let's look back and see if this is true or not. I want you to take a deep breath and really take a deep breath. You're doing amazing. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so excited that you actually found this channel where you get to heal your money traumas once and for all so that you can have a real deep, loving, connected relationship with money. I want you to think back based on when you were being raised by your parents. Think about your mother, and I want you to think back about her relationship with money. What kind of conversations did your mother have? What kind of comments would she make when it came to money, finances, and money issues? And as you start to feel back into the olden times where you were being raised, ask yourself, of the emotions that you have written down on the paper, 11 of them, which emotions would you likely attribute to your mother's relationship with money? Is it the emotions associated with appreciation? Was your mom in a space of gratitude, love, joy, celebration, excitement, all these type of things when it came to money? Or was your mother's relationship with money based on resentment emotions? You only know that, I don't. Every one of us are different. Next to the ones that your mom felt, put an M next to those emotions. And we're just taking inventory. There's no way you can mess this up. Actually, it's just an exploration for us to really find out, to investigate where these emotions originated from so that we can go after healing them. Now I want you to take another deep breath because you're doing amazing. I'm so incredibly proud of you. Most people hide from money and their traumas, but you are sticking with me in this video. And by the way, I'll be making many more videos associated with emotions, financial success, and connection with the truth. So here we're identifying the truth as it pertains to your relationship with money, and we're investigating where some of this came from. Now I want you to think about your father. Think about when you were being raised by your father, and if your father was around and you heard him have conversations about money, whether those conversations were with you, with your mom, with your father's business partners. Let me ask you, what emotions from these 11 would you attribute to your father's relationship with money? And I want you to take a moment to just breathe into it. Remember the types of things he would say. Remember the types of behaviors your dad had. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at the sheet of 11 numbers. And I want you to choose the top 3 emotions that you believe your father carried around money and put an F next to it for father. Now we have the emotions for our father. We have the emotions associated with our mothers. And so what we're going to do is, once you have what you believe your mother was carrying in terms of emotions and what your father was carrying in terms of emotions, I want you to check with yourself. Are they similar to the emotions that you carry? Likely, most of the emotions that your mom and dad had around money are those that you inherited. In fact, this is very common, and these money traumas are passed down and inherited through our family lines. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to identify them, pay attention to them, because you are now an investigator of your own success. And we wanna make sure that whatever you're finding is something that you can go after and quickly and easily heal forever. You know, once you start to identify these emotions and you start to learn how to overcome and heal them, you'll notice that your relationship with money will become so much easy, so much more graceful, that you're not constantly chasing, begging, and punishing yourself. In fact, the most common emotion that is associated with money in the middle class is shame. Most common emotion related to money. And that's not to say that there's not many other emotions of resentment associated with money. I'll give you a couple stories before we continue. I was once doing a speech about money traumas, and a woman came to see me afterward. And she said to me, I don't know if I have money traumas because I was raised in a family that had a lot of money. So we didn't really struggle with a lack of wealth. Can you help me find if I'm carrying money traumas? So just like I always do, I asked her to sit down, place her hand on her heart, take 3 deep breaths. And I asked her to go back into her family history as she was being raised. And I asked her to give me a little bit of a refresher of what was the circumstances around money when she was raised. And before we started, she kept telling me how much she struggles with making money, even though her family was very rich when she was growing up. So as we went through her family history, in a very brief period of time, she started recalling how her and her brothers have had their lives ruined because of their family's wealth. In fact, one of her brothers was suicidal. The other one had become a drug addict for many years, and all because her parents didn't know how to handle their wealth, and therefore they used the wealth to bribe and to manipulate the children. So the woman I was speaking to, no wonder she was really struggling with wealth, because to her, money was equivalent to danger. Money was something that she was angry towards because of the destruction and damage that it had caused her entire family. And therefore, her healing journey had to do with overcoming and healing the emotions that she was holding towards money. Same for you. Whether you came from a very wealthy family or you came from a family that had no money, it's all similar. It's all about the traumas that you had to deal with as a young boy or girl, and the traumas that you're now carrying into your personal finances, into your bank account, into your investments unknowingly by harboring emotions. So the question I have for you is, are you willing and ready to heal? And what does it look like to heal from having such traumas? I'll share with you a story for myself. I grew up really poor in America. My parents came here as immigrants, and I had to learn how to work with money, how to make money. Every time I heard my parents talk about money, it was all about anger and sadness and jealousy and frustration. So I started to harbor the same emotions towards money. No wonder it was so hard for me to obtain wealth, because if I was secretly angry, secretly scared, secretly sad towards the very thing that I wanted to obtain, what are the chances that I would find close proximity to it? And it wasn't until I started to discover and develop these concepts around emotions and around financial traumas that I was able to really identify the emotions that I was harboring. And the way I was able to identify it was I started to pay attention to what emotions came up every time I had to pay someone. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you go to a restaurant or you buy something really expensive, and the moment the bill comes out, there's a little queasy feeling in your stomach and it feels like an ouch? Or sometimes you might feel scared, like, oh man, I have to pay for this bill, but oh my God, how is this going to impact me? Those emotions that come up for all of us are emotions that are signals. And if you continue to resist and suppress and avoid these emotions, they start to build up. And they start to show up in your finances. They start to show up in your job. They start to show up in the bedroom. They start to show up in your family relationships. But as soon as you start to identify the emotions, what you're going to start to notice is that they are symbols and they are places of teaching, wisdom, and knowledge for you to heal and empower yourself around. Now, once I've started to learn how to identify my emotions, how to work with them, I've learned to heal the emotions. And I'll make a different video for you around how to heal the emotional traumas that you have around money. But I want to share with you that once you start to go on this healing journey, you start to notice how often you have secret resentments towards the very thing that you want. Think about it. You ever been in a relationship with a man or a woman and then you get angry at them for whatever reason, and now you're creating a sense of distance and your proximity starts to get larger and larger because you don't want to be around somebody who you're harboring anger towards. The same goes for money. If you have secret resentments towards wealth, realize that you're secretly creating distance between you and the very thing that you want. And just like in any healthy relationship, if you want to heal, and you want to create closeness and intimacy, you got to first start to own what you're harboring. In other words, you cannot heal a relationship that you are hiding emotions from. In any type of therapy between couples, what do they do? They first ask you, how are you feeling? What is it that you are holding against the other person? Let's be real, let's be honest. What I call this is ownership. And ownership is a state of being. So many of us have been raised in families where we've been taught to hide and disown everything. So we grow up disowning our problems, avoiding our problems, concealing our challenges because we're afraid to own them openly. And it's not until we own our challenges and our problems openly that we're able to actually start to do something about them. Same applies to your parents and your household. Think about it. When you were a kid, did your parents hide their problems from you and from everyone? And isn't it true that most of the problems that your parents struggled with in secret, you already knew? That you can smell it on them. You can see when your dad was sad or angry or feeling shame, even if he didn't own it. So in the field of healing, in the field of learning how to have a deeper relationship with money and wealth, a relationship that's harmonious and healthy and not dysfunctional, you first have to own the emotions that you're harboring. Because without owning it, you're pretending, right? And the opposite is also true when it comes to ownership. It's not just owning the problems and the challenges, which most people conceal, which is actually a poverty behavior, but it's also owning your light, your power, your resources. How many of us have been raised in families that tell us to hide our power, to not shine so that we don't make other people feel bad? And that itself is a poverty mentality, which I'm going to help you overcome in the following series of videos that I'm going to make for you. So in this first step, we're identifying what emotions. And what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to take inventory of when these emotions come up. These emotions oftentimes come to surface when you're having to pay for something or when you're having to ask for money. How many of you have shame, sadness, anger, fear, scared when you have to ask for money? You ever have a client or a prospect that you know you can help, that you know that you can provide a really good service to, but when it comes time to give them the proposal, to ask them for money or to ask them for the sale, you get scared? You feel shame. All of these emotions are what is causing you to not achieve the level of wealth that you know you can achieve. And it's not about how much money mindset you have, how much motivation you have, because you can have the most amount of motivation, you can have the most amount of desire to work hard, but if you're feeling angry and scared and shy and shame secretly, you're not going to achieve the wealth that you want, right? So in this video, I'm encouraging you to first identify and start to detect when these emotions pop up. And just by doing that, you're already ahead of the game for 99% of human beings who are not even aware of the emotions that they're harboring, which is limiting the growth of what they want to achieve. I hope this video was great for you. It's just a beginner video. If you like what you heard, please like this video, subscribe to this channel. It's brand new, and put in the comments, what did you like to hear more about, so that I can curate videos that feed into my listeners. My intention is to empower you, to educate you, and to elevate you into places that most of society has no access, no information around. And I am so grateful and honored to have you as a viewer. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.